I first started playwriting about a decade ago because I was sort of running out of parts to play as an actor. I've been a professional actor since I was 19 years old, and things were really drying up. So I started writing my own pieces, and then I realized that I really preferred being a writer to being an actor. I fell in love with playwriting when I had the experience of seeing a young woman play one of my characters. I wrote a piece called Linda about discovering who you are, and it's very specific. It's a very specific Chicana character, and I really liked the piece, but it never really struck me at how much it meant to other people and to especially like Chicana women until I saw a young actress do it. And I thought, wow, I'm really giving these women something to do that I never had as a young performer, is to perform characters that they really, really connect with. What inspired me to write Gargoyles is there was an article in the Smithsonian about a woman who created masks for soldiers in World War I who had lost their faces to machine gun fire. She actually created these little tin insert masks so that they could sit for pictures and look quote unquote normal. It just fascinated me. So at first I was fascinated with the idea of the mask, and then I started delving into the research about what happened to these men after they went through this dramatic facial trauma, and that it was actually the beginning of plastic surgery. The modern plastic surgery techniques is how they reconstructed these faces. So that was the inspiration for it. And it also ties in with my love of the silent era and silent movies and melodramatic monster movies and the very beginnings of cinema. And I wanted to write a story that included all those elements, but with my signature Latinx leading characters. My play is about, it's a soldier who arrives in a small Latin American island. He has no friends. Nobody knows him. He's come to this island to just be left alone. And unfortunately for him, already living on the island is a woman who has also come to the island to be left alone. And she has brought her daughter with her. She's trying to protect her daughter from what she thinks are the evils of the world, up to and including male attention. So the daughter's going a little stir crazy on the island, and the daughter becomes fascinated with the soldier and starts sort of to make him a pet project. And she flirts with him, and it's very difficult for him because he feels like a freak, he feels like a monster, and he thinks she's making fun of him. And the story evolves that it turns into a bit of a love story between this mother who is so hardened to love and this soldier who thinks nobody will ever love him again. And that definitely wasn't something I planned because I've never written a romance before, but it became sort of a love story. What I want the audience to get out of this play is it's a big historical romance. It's sort of melodramatic. It's a little bit over the top. It's something that I don't think we've seen too many Latinx characters be able to do. I think a lot about plays like the Vibrator play by Sarah Ruhl, or some plays, Indecent by Paula Vogel. They're really interesting historical plays. And I just wanted to include, do something like that with Latinx people who, we've been everywhere. We were in the silent era. We've been, in these wars, and we don't exist on paper or on stage. So I really wanted to open that door. The reason the Southern California audience should come see my play, and in fact the entire weekend of readings, is because you're going to see new work by really fascinating female playwrights. Not one play is the same as another play. They all have very individual voices, which I think is very exciting. It's a beautiful theater. The Curtis Theater is a gorgeous place. We're very well supported by everybody there. And it's a chance to come see the really high quality, high caliber of actors that we have in Southern California, and specifically in Orange County, that I think we don't often hear about that, but it's a really, really high quality, high caliber level of actor there, and they're doing some fantastic work. with very little rehearsal. You know, they still have the scripts in their hands, and what they're managing to do is really pretty inspiring. Talkbacks during a playwriting festival are important because of the development process of the play, and any playwright who is really working to make their play better will definitely listen to what the audience has to say. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to change anything, and it doesn't mean that if the audience doesn't like it, that's going to be crushing. Sometimes audiences don't like your work, and that's okay, and sometimes it's not going exactly the way you plan, and that is also okay, but it's very, very informative. You know, I always think sometimes if an audience is really viscerally hates something, I mean, they hate it because of whatever's in the story, not, oh my gosh, that was really boring. But if they hate it with such fire and such passion that they have to talk about it, I always think, oh, there's something there that's really interesting. So it's always, always informative. The reason playwright festivals are important for me as a writer and also to a theater audience is, well, for the writer, it's very important to actually develop our work. You know, this is having these festivals is a way to hear the work on its feet, which sometimes is, you learn a lot. It may be a giant failure, and that's okay, but you really learn what parts of the play work, what resonates with an audience, whether there's anything that you should change, whether there's something that isn't clear. And for the audiences, I think the really fascinating thing about these play festivals is you get to be on the ground floor of brand new work and get to experience something nobody else has experienced. And a lot of the times you get a chance to raise your hand and ask questions, and occasionally maybe even give the author some ideas, which I think is really, really exciting. The importance of getting more and different and diverse voices in the theater is that there is a real lack of representation, and what people see on stage, on film, is how they perceive the world to be a lot of times. And if women don't exist in a certain way, if Latinos don't exist, if, you know, if Asian people don't exist, then it becomes very difficult to not be othered. Especially, I think, for Latinx right now in this moment, seeing our stories on stage and understanding that we are simply people, that we have stories, that we have a lot of commonalities, that the barrier between us is not really a barrier, it's humanity. Maybe because we speak a different language, it seems like we'll be separate, but I always challenge audiences, if a play is bilingual, open your mind to it. Just take a moment to see what you understand. It's a lot like a Shakespeare play. Nobody really understands the first 15 minutes of a Shakespeare play until your brain kind of clicks in to the way it sounds and to what old language. It takes a second, right? And I sort of feel that way about bilingual work. I've seen things in languages I do not understand, and I have always tried to keep myself open to it, and I have always enjoyed it. I think the play is a little bit different because it is a historical drama. It's a period piece. It incorporates a lot of anachronistic language. And we're in a little bit of a moment where people are sort of liking the televised play. Sometimes it feels like it's a lot of television on stage. I personally love theatrics, so I'm always pushing that back. I mean, the reason we have theater is to be theatrical. If we wanted to do something super realistic, I think we have the wonderful mediums of television and film to do that in. So the more theatrical a play is, the better. But there are constraints. There are budget constraints. There are, you know, sometimes can we find the actor who can do that? There's a lot of barriers to that. But I personally think the audiences really enjoy big theatrical pieces. I want my play to go from this reading to go, well, I'm trying to get it all over theaters in all over the country. I think Gargoyles is kind of an interesting conundrum because it's very much a huge historical drama. I've tried to keep it small, you know. I think there's only 6 actors, and the set is sort of ethereal. But to be honest, it's not really a style that people are doing right now. So I would love somebody to take it on, and let's see what we can do. Do something a little bit different from what's being done in contemporary theater right now.
please follow us on social media. We are the Curtis Theater in Brea, and by following our Twitter, our Instagram, our Facebook, you will see when we open up for submissions for next year's festival, which we expect will be around the same time we did last year. So somewhere around December or January, we will start opening up for new submissions for next year's festival.